Hey YouTube, this is Jaden Storm coming at you from Team Shadow Strike, and this is a video request. Even though I was going to do this before the request, I'll still mention it because technically he did request it, and here it is. It was requested by, I hope I'm pronouncing your last name right, Raphael Chua, and he asked me, can you do like can you do an update on the top 10 on this video? And the video was a video I made a long time ago, and it was the top 10 cheapest decks of the format or budget. So I was planning on doing that anyway. When I saw this comment, I was like, well, great. So Raphael Chua, here you go. And if I'm mispronouncing your name right, I apologize. So here we go. Before I get into this, guys, let me mention this to you. There is a lot in this game that can be budget. This is my opinion. Just because these are the 10 I am giving you, it doesn't mean that maybe there's not another one out there. These are just, I kind of sat down and thought, okay, when I consider something, one second, guys, I need to turn my fan on. I am... Okay, when I consider something budget, because what's budget for me might be different from what's budget with you. I tried all of these decks. You can build for $150 or lower. Now, you can probably build any one of these decks anywhere between that price, because some people value some cards more than others. That's just how it works out. Sometimes you can buy them off places like Ideal 808, Amazon, eBay, and you can get cheaper deals on them. You know, it's just kind of how it is, you know. So these decks here, they're not specifically, you know, they're going to be a set amount, but all of these decks, I feel that you could build for anywhere between, 150 or less. So it's going to be somewhere in that range, you know. So that's my opinion, you know. There's a couple others. There's one that I didn't see on this list that I'll mention right quick. You could probably build a Great Nature deck for about $100 to $150. Mainly because the reason it's going to cost more, probably closer to $150, is for the simple fact their perfect guards have gone way up. That's the same with any clan that has not gotten a reprint of a perfect guard. Main two that need it are Grand Blue and Great Nature. I've seen play sets of Grand Blue Perfects going for $100. And I've seen Great Nature go closer to $75, $80, and sometimes even $100. I mean, they haven't gotten a reprint, so they're harder to find. I think it was not fair that either one of those didn't get a reprint, but I'm not Bushiroad. So, anyway, guys, so I'm going to jump into this list, but I will say you can probably build a Great Nature deck for about $150. It would probably be cheaper to buy the perfect guards, as big as a pain in the ass this is going to be. It's probably going to be cheaper to buy them one at a time, because you can find them sometimes, like you can scoop one up for about 10, maybe one over here for about 8. Sometimes you'll have to buy one that's in 20s, just because if you want to finish it, that's all there is. It's different. Sometimes also if you find one that's on auction, sometimes you can get it for a steal. It's literally just a matter of playing the hunt and search game. So anyway, let's jump straight into this list. First one is Jewel Knights. As much as I do not like Jewel Knights, and I'm not going to get into why, this deck is cheap to build, and I will admit it does have some good things going for it. It has a cross break ride, so it has a cross ride, so it can sit on a 13k body, which means it's easier to guard. You can guard up to 18,000 power with a 5k shield. But the main thing that this deck, to me, that it in some ways it loses to some decks almost instantly. This deck cannot stand up to Link Joker, period, because by its 12k and 10k attackers are dependent on having certain amount of grade 3 of Jewel Knights on the board. So if this thing goes up against Link Joker, it's really bad, unless the Jewel Knight player plays extremely conservative and does not commit to the field until they're ready. I'm not saying Jewel Knights can't beat Link Joker, don't get me wrong, but this deck has a very hard time against Link Joker. Any deck that focuses on retiring units, so that's your Narukami, that is your Kagero, that is your Liberators and your Revengers and other clans that can just pick units off with skills. It has a hard matchup against this because Jewel Knights they have to have a full board to be a threat. But this deck does have a lot of ways now to Superior Call. It has a Counterblast 2 Superior Call grade 1 out of the deck. It has a couple others. Ashley Reverse, which is their best boss monster by far. Its limit break is lock 1. It's Counterblast 1, lock 1, pop a unit in your opponent's front row, and you get Superior Call. So there is ways to make this deck work. I'm not a fan of it. And I'm going to try and get a deck profile of a Jewel Knight deck up here for you guys soon if I can, but I'm going to have to find someone at my locals to do one for you. There are a couple, so I might do it. But overall, this deck can be budget, but if you do play against a deck that is highly destructive to it, like Link Joker, Kagero, Narukami, you need to play extremely conservative or else it can really hurt you. And by the way, these decks, they're in no particular order. They're just the 10 that I thought of. Number 2 on my list I have is Beast Deities. Beast Deities are still a very good deck, but they are budget because as good as this deck is, whether you're playing Extreme or you're playing Reversed, the thing about either one of them, Ethics Buster Extreme and Ethics Buster Reverse, they both generate lots of attacks. And as simple as that sounds, that's also the point of the deck. There is no real complex. There's really no complexity that goes into the deck. Now, don't take that as an insult. It's actually a very easy deck to learn how to play. You can probably pick this deck up and learn how to play it within a few games, because the entire focus around the deck revolves around just simply getting your best units on the field, getting your best combos out there, and then continue to launch multiple attacks. And you're going to win games more times than not because your opponent literally just can't guard them. But at the same time, you also have to play conservative because Nova Grapplers, Beast Deities, they also have a hard time against Link Joker and other clans that can destroy units. Link Joker, they're just going to lock your rear guards, and Chaos Breakers are then going to pop them and draw off them. Kagero is going to get rid of your cards off many skills. They have Novel Critic if you're playing a Novel deck. Most Kagero decks play Berserk Dragon. Dominant Drive Reverse is a card that is out there that will pop your boosters, and the boosters are very, very crucial to Beast Deities because of Riot Horn, the best starter for Beast Deities, Max Beat, another good back row booster to help you stay in columns, Blank Marsh, and other things. So there is a lot of good that comes with this deck, but there's a lot of risk too. Beast Deities is probably a better option in my opinion than Jewel Knights because they have a 12k attacker, they have a 10k attacker, and you do not have to necessarily have a full field for them to be a threat. But Beast Deities are definitely an option, but again, you will have to play conservative against the decks that can severely hurt you. Next up on the list is Eradicators, and Eradicators, the nice thing about them is now that set 14 is pretty much the end of the Eradicator line, because the next set of Narukami that we're going to get is in set 16, which is Brawlers. Now, the Eradicators, what is nice about them, and what I've always liked about Eradicators, is there's really no ace of the Eradicator line. Like, if you're talking about Liberators, I think the ace Liberator card would probably be Monarch Alfred or Gancelot Zenith. And with Eradicators, they have 3-4 good boss monsters. The best, in my opinion, Dragonic Descendant. The second best, which would be Tempest Bolt. Then you have Vowing Sword Reverse, and then you have I can't remember his name. It's the one that Naoki used. Gauntlet Buster. All 4 of these are all very, very good boss units, and then you have 2 Break Ride units, Vowing Sword Dragon, and Ignition. So both of these Break rides are extremely good. One thing I saw once was a guy who literally played 4 Vowing Sword and 4 Ignition, and he literally, his thing was that he could break ride every turn and neutralize 1 to 2 units, and that is very good. Um, you know, I really like I like the deck idea. I thought it was pretty cool. Vowing Sword Reverse, it never really. Um, I guess got a chance to be a threatening deck because set 13 you weren't getting into I mean set 12 set 12 what people mostly got into set 12 for was your the start of Link Joker, which was Nebula Lord at the time, or Revengers. Those were the big 2 decks that were in set 12, even though there were others, but those, I think it's fair to say, were the highlight of set 12, which was Revengers and Nebula Lord, or Link Joker. But Vowing Sword, in my opinion, it just kind of fell out of favor because there were other better reverse decks. But also, I think Vowing Sword Reverse is a good deck. It just takes the right player to know how to use it, because it is it's a very high risk reward deck, because true, you get to, your opponent has to blow up 2 of their units, and he's going to gain 10,000 power, and you're sitting on a Crossroad Vanguard, but it's weird, because if you cross Break Ride at the wrong time, you run out of Counterblast at the right time, this deck just seems to lose. So it is still a good deck, don't get me wrong. You, again, like so far I've said on all of them, you just got to pick your spots. So don't let that turn you away from Vowing Sword Reverse. It is a good deck. It just might take a little bit of practice to learn when to go for the push and when not to. Next is the Liberator Garmor Alfred. Ganslot decks are probably a little above budget right now, but if you still want to play Liberators, it's not a bad option to still play Alfred or Garmor. And Garmor, guys, if you have Wolfang Liberator Garmors, you might hold on to them, because when set 15 rolls around and Mega Colony is a thing, Garmor is a pretty good deck to combat against that, because when they Break Ride on top of the new Mega Colony Break Ride, and it forces everything to rest, including the Vanguard, you can ride Garmor and use his Limit Break and get a new field if you want. That is something to think about. Also, Alfred, guys, he's a very good card, because he can get to 21 every single turn if you have a full field and you're on Limit Break by himself, which is really good. And if you have a 10k booster behind him, he can hit 31 off a non-break ride. And being able to hit 31 without a break ride is amazing. So Alfred, do not turn away from him quite yet. He is still a very good card. So if you want to play Liberators, these are probably your best 2 bets. You can either mix Garmor and Alfred together, or you could even throw in the break ride Ganslot. You could probably get the break ride Ganslot for... I'd probably say maybe 8 to 12 a piece, in that range. And Alfred is probably gone down with Ganslot Zenith being released, and he'll probably go down even more once Monarch Alfred is released. So it is a good option to keep. The next one is Aqua Force Tetra Drive. Believe it or not, I've seen versions of this deck go anywhere from 1 at low. I saw one, I looked on eBay and I saw one sold for 110, and that was with 4 Transcore, 4 Transcore, 3 Tetra, and 4 Perfect Guards. So you can build Tetra for pretty cheap right now. The reason is because with set 15 on the horizon, people are going to be looking to play more of the Maelstrom Reverse. So that's why Tetra's kind of fallen out of favor, even though Tetra and Transcore is still a pretty good deck. So if you do like Aqua Force, but you just didn't think you'd ever be able to build it because you're a budget player, now you can build Aqua Force and get away with it pretty cheap. So it is definitely an option now. The ability to have a Vanguard that can stand up for a second attack, like I've always said, is a major threat. So now that Aqua Force has gone down a little bit in some ways, it is now a good time to pick up the deck if you would like to. The next one is Murakumo Vogue Reverse. This deck, guys, you can probably build for 80 bucks, 80 to 100 bucks at most, and this deck is nasty. If you could get the break right off and get 2 Vogues out on top of the one that you broke road, so you have 3 Vogues in your front line, they're going to be, and then you use the limit break skill to get them up to 10,000 apiece. So the turn you break ride, you can have your Vanguard Vogue reverse at 31, and your 2 rearguard Vogues to 21, and then if you have the new Murakumo promo from set 14, which is not that expensive, he's like $1.50 to $2 a piece, you call him to the field and you unlock one of the 2 units that you had to lock to activate his ability the first time, and then you can lock those 2 rear guards again to give your entire front line another 10,000 boost. So in a way, you get to get out 3 monsters, and you get to give all 3 of them a 20,000 point boost. That is insane. So you're going to have 2 31 attackers on the rear guards, and your Vanguard is going to be at 41,000 power. You mix this with stand triggers, it is pretty nasty, because if your opponent is sitting at an 11,000 Vanguard, or even a cross ride at 13, and they're facing down 2 31s and a 41, and they're like anywhere from 4 to 5 damage, they're going to have to probably more than likely take one of those in the late game. So Murakumo is definitely a good option if you want a good budget deck. I never thought I would like the Vogue deck, and then I decided to pick it up because I wanted to have all the red clans as a deck, mainly because red's my favorite color. But I've played with the deck some, and I'm very impressed. The deck is pretty amazing, guys. So if you are looking for a good budget deck, Vogue is definitely a good option. The next is Murakumo's brother, Nubatama. And when I say Nubatama, there really isn't a whole lot of ways to build Nubatama because they've only gotten a little support. And they're going to get supposedly more in the future, I hope, besides the stuff that comes in the Fighters Collection and the Legion. I hope there's going to be more stuff that goes with it. Because I like Nubatama. You know, I liked the idea behind it when we got just the first 4 cards, but they were afraid at the time that deck would have been pretty stupid, and they would have been right. If they would have released Nubatama early, it would have probably been one of the more popular decks, for the fact that it could just loot cards out of the hand, it could bind units on the field, and it caused a lot of mayhem. So I can understand why they waited to give Nubatama support, but it is definitely a good deck. You can build this deck for dirt cheap, guys, and like 115 at most, sometimes even lower than that. When this deck was announced in set 13, I remember looking up prices. You could get the Perfect Guard for 4, you could get the Break Ride for about 10, and then you got the Boss Monster Kabuki Kongo for like 3. I mean, the deck was dirt cheap, you know, I mean, so it really wasn't that hard. You needed Perfect Guards, you needed the Break Ride, and then you needed the Boss Monster, and everything else to the deck was common. So it was a pretty easy deck to come by. But just because it's low rarity, and this deck isn't good, this deck's actually very, very good when it's played right. Because even though it only has a rainbow trigger lineup right now,
which I'm not fond of, it still can apply amazing pressure when you, if you mix some of the old cards with it. Dreadmaster and Chikasumi. Both of these cards mixed in this deck are very good. Now, you can play the grade 3 that we got a long time ago, Stealth Dragon, Shura Stealth Dragon Voidmaster, I think is the name. I don't like Voidmaster because I don't like Vanguards that have 10k power. So I sure as hell am not going to like having a Vanguard that has 9k power. And especially in this format right now, I don't think a 9k Vanguard is a good thing, just no matter what his effect is. I mean, if he works for you, that's fine, but I wouldn't recommend playing the grade 3 that we have. I would recommend sticking to both of the grade 3s we already have, because they are 11ks. Because it's just a smarter decision, in my opinion. But if you want to play Voidmaster, be my guest. Another one is Seal Dragons. Seal Dragons is another one of them decks that are pretty cheap to build because Seal Dragons, not a whole lot of people played them. I mean, I have a couple friends that built the deck, and they really like it, and they enjoy it, and the deck is good because it can retire things. It prevents intercepting at times. And it can nuke multiple units at the same time with Blockade Inferno, but Seal Dragons, I think, now that Georgette is out, is a much better deck, but that's my opinion. You could wait till Fighters Collection when the new Break Ride comes and do that. At least I think they get a Break Ride in Fighters Collection 2014. You might want to check that. But I'm looking forward to that. So Seal Dragons to me are a good budget deck right now. Plus, they do have a Seal Dragon Perfect, and he is cheaper than Wyvern Guard Buri or Dragon Dancer Maria. But I will tell you that for some reason it seems like around here that the Seal Dragon triggers are hard to come by. But Seal Dragons are a good budget deck, guys. Just make sure that you read all the card effects, because some of the card effects on Seal Dragons can be misleading. Totally drawn blank. A lot of people I know, when they were doing the I think his name is the grade 2, you call him, if your opponent has a grade 2 rear guard, you counterblast 1 and then you can retire 1. I think it's something like that. People were thinking that you retired anything. It's retire a grade 2. So you have to be very careful with some of these cards, because they are worded a little bit different than most Kagero and Narukami decks have been, because Seal Dragons completely focus on just keeping the front line empty minus the Vanguard. So Seal Dragons, it is a good option. Just make sure that you learn how to use them. The next one is the Blood. I'm sorry, the Blood right now, or Dragonic Kaiser Vermilion the Blood, I honestly think that deck right now could do very well. I've seen a couple people play it, and I've looked at their deck profiles for this format, and it's not bad if you mix some of the Eradicator stuff with it. Because guys, the Blood, it is a cross-ride Vanguard. His ultimate break gets him a plus 5,000 plus 1 crit, and it attacks the entire front row. That is pretty much what Brawlers came from, because the Brawler boss monsters attacks the front line and any 4 units. Well, this is traced back to the Dragonic Kaiser Vermilion the Blood. So Vermilion the Blood, it is definitely an option. You could probably find people selling the deck on eBay. And I've looked, people selling the deck for as little as 120, sometimes a little lower. You can pick this deck up for relatively nothing, since it's not being played a whole lot, and it's actually a very, very fun deck if you build it right, and you fit the kind of play style that you want to play with it. Don't just throw this deck together because it's a bunch of Narukami stuff. Try and have an idea of how you want this deck to work. The Blood is definitely a good option, guys, if you would like to try something out. That is probably not the standard right now. And even then, I don't even think the Blood ever got that big of a chance in the meta, because some people, honestly, at least around here, just looked at it and went, I don't see why this is so good. I liked the Blood. I had a lot of fun with it. I used it in 3 tournaments around the release, because I was able to finish the Blood first before Platina Hazel, and I won all 3 tournaments. I mean, the Blood is a very good deck when used properly. It got a 12k attacker, it got obviously a new boss monster, and some other things that was just able to make the deck extremely well. I also liked it because you could use the cards, the self-damagers worked so well in this deck, so you could just put the triggers right back in the deck and then trigger them again. So this deck is very, very good. So definitely try the Blood out. And for the last one that I have is the Magus deck. I looked and I saw versions of this deck being sold anywhere between $75 to $85 to $100 at most. The Magus deck is pretty cheap to build because there really isn't a lot of hollow cards in it. The boss monster, which is Pentagonal Magus, is not hollow at all. It's a common. The Break Ride is probably the most expensive card in the deck, and it's a triple rare. It was the one triple rare in the Magus Extra Booster. And then you have the Perfect Guard, Constellar Magus, and Briolette Magus, and everything else is common and cheap and easy to get. So Magus is definitely another one of those good decks. If you like Oracle Think Take, if you like Hand Advantage, this is for you. There's really not much else to say about it, because the deck, it revolves around top deck predictions, but there's also so many ways in that deck that allows you to either put whatever you want on the top to where you know the identity of it, or cards that let you check so you do know the identity. So this deck is easy to learn how to it's one of the easier decks on this list to learn how to use, but it does take a little bit of thought process, and it does take a little bit of time to get used to the playstyle. So anyway, guys, those were my 10 decks that are, in my opinion, right now that could be considered cheap or budget. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you would like to ask any more questions about any of these decks or any other decks that I might consider budget, you are more than welcome to either email me at the Tmail website. Or you are more than welcome to also leave a comment below or a question, and I'll be more than happy to answer it. So I hope you enjoyed this, guys. So please, if you did enjoy this, please tell me that you did. If you didn't, please tell me why you didn't, so maybe next time I do one of these, I can make it better. I always like your feedback, guys. So if you do have something that you want to say, please always leave it below. If you are new to my channel and this is the first video that you've seen, please go check out more of my content. Make sure you subscribe. I've done contests before. I'm doing monthly giveaways now. I do all kinds of stuff: deck profiles, discussion, random rants, trade binders. I'm going to do a new trade binder here for you guys pretty soon. All kinds of stuff. So please, if you're new to my channel, please subscribe, thumbs up this video for me, and do go check out the rest of my content. If you also are new to my channel, please go check out my Vanguard monthly giveaway for August. It is still going on. If you haven't checked, if you're a subscriber of mine and you haven't done that already, also go take care of that. It will end when I do the September monthly giveaway announcement, and I will also announce the winner of the August one when I do it. So please go check that out for me, guys. I hope you all are doing well. So make sure you thumbs this video up, leave me some feedback in the comment section below, and I will see you guys later.